Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
So caves, creepy, dark, and dank. There are so many unexplored cave systems out there. How do we know that something prehistoric, old, or ancient doesn't dwell in one of these cave systems? Does anyone have any spooky cave stories for us? Camping trips, caves, and hiking. Moments of panic or paranoia where you thought you were being chased or tracked down. Maybe you thought you saw something in the distance or in the corner of your eye. When you're in darkness like that, I bet your mind plays tricks on you and messes with you a little bit, both with your auditory senses and visual senses. After going to Carlsbad, all I can imagine is getting lost down there, wandering aimlessly through the hundreds of still unmapped tunnels, trying to go in a generally upward direction, and vainly attempting to conserve your flashlight's batteries as much as possible, while still avoiding falling into a deep pit. Standing in the middle of a colossal underground chamber, straining your eyes in every direction for a glimpse of light, but only soaking in what is likely to be your grave. Oh, you'll call for help for sure, and sound can echo a fair bit through those tunnels. But amid the miles of labyrinthine passages, it's unlikely another caver would hear you, or find you if he or she did. Maybe in your desperation, you'll hope you will stumble upon some strange, benevolent cave creature to lead you to the surface, or find a passage to some form of inner earth. Slowly it will dawn on you. However, it seems much more likely if a cave creature larger than blind crickets existed down there, it would be the one doing the finding, not you. Yes, in your delirium you'll realize that for many hours now you have been followed, watched, stalked even. And as your flashlight slowly dims, you'll grow fearful, afraid to look anywhere but straight ahead, for fear of what may or may not be lurking in the inky blackness. Finally, your light will go out, and you'll be forced to sit and wait for the end, or blindly crawl through the tunnels a few hundred more feet before giving up. Naturally, your occipital lobe won't know what to do in absolute darkness, miles under the earth, and will trick you into thinking you can see the dark outline of your hand as you wave it in front of your face. That's when I imagine you'll finally hear the first noise in hours that you didn't make.
Hello 4chan, I'm fairly new to this website, so obviously my text format will probably suck. I will try to keep this as simple as possible. I will not be using exact names. I will not be using exact locations. All I'm going to say is that when I was in middle school many years ago, I went on a field trip to a cave around midwinter. Now first off, our entire grade didn't go on this field trip all at once. We went one class at a time every day. Now I was on the second trip there, and our class was split up into two groups. One group would stay above ground and do some sort of ecology stuff, and the other group would go caving. Now after a couple of hours, when both groups were done, they would switch roles until they were done once more, and then the whole field trip would be over. I was in the last group to go caving. Since it was winter, it was pretty easy to slip inside the cave since the entrance was full of ice. But once you got deeper into the cave, it becomes somewhat cozy and oddly and cheesy enough, fascinating. We had one instructor who usually stayed in the middle of the group and sometimes the back, which wasn't the best safety technique, but whatever. Anyways, while we were walking down a roomy sort of passageway, me and a kid named Sean made our way up to the front, and being kids we kept on flicking our headlamps on and off, because sometimes the lights would turn red, or that weird epilepsy mode. After about 20 minutes of goofing off by ourselves about 10 feet away from our group, we came across several different passageways. Some you needed to crawl under, some you needed to crouch, others you just need to keep walking like normal. We decided that we should wait for the group to catch up before we hop through some random tunnel and get lost. So we were sitting here hanging around, echoing our voices and flickering our headlamps at each other, but while doing that, something caught my eye. I flickered my light on and off down a hallway while Sean was telling me some random shitty joke, and something flickered in the darkness in one of the cave tunnels. I wasn't sure what it was at first, so I stopped flickering my light and just left it on. and beyond what my headlamp's light reached there was pitch-black darkness, and then I saw it. A pair of eyes reflecting the light. I don't remember the exact details of what the eyes looked like, but it wasn't an animal. It was on the ceiling, upside down. Now I don't know if gargantuan fucking bats live in Northern America, but shit. I immediately turned to my friend and cut him off, telling him to look, and surprisingly he saw it too. We both got up and knew we had to tell the caving instructor, so we ran back to our group and made our way to the instructor. But he said that it was a wild animal that might have gotten down there. He said it so nonchalantly, and it didn't help me and my friend collectively freaked out. Everything seemed to calm down for a while afterwards as we made our way across a ledge that had a 10-foot drop that led into an underground river. We literally had to shimmy across a 2-foot ledge for 5 minutes. It was actually pretty fun thinking back on it, but after we finished that and were crawling into a new area, I overheard a kid talking to the instructor behind me about something standing beneath the ledge staring at him. The kid was silently crying while explaining it to him, but after a couple of seconds I couldn't hear them over the rest of my group yelling like shitheads. I talked with my friend about this after we finished crawling, and he agreed that he was freaking out just like me. Nothing really happened after that for a while. Until we did something else, we all sat in a large cave room thing and we had to turn off our headlamps to experience the cave or something, and of course some kids were messing around in the darkness and giggling, but it was all cut off by someone. And so, as we are sitting there, we hear this running in the distance, we hear it echoing over the river beside us. I look at Sean's dark outline and whisper, "Did you hear that?" And he just replies with a firm hush, and the running gets closer and closer. But no one spoke up. I heard someone gasp a couple of times, and that's it. I could even tell that this, whatever it was, wasn't wearing any shoes, since the sound of its feet on the sand and rocks made a fleshy sound. Then all of a sudden the running stopped and we heard the sound of something gurgling. I've never heard anything like it in my life. It sounded like a dinosaur, oddly enough. Dinosaur as in, it reminded me of the call that the raptors did in Jurassic Park, but more deep and guttural. It was even worse that it echoed and made my hairs stand on end. Then it stopped only to begin running through the underground river we had walked by. It sounded like someone was having a massive seizure down there, just thrashing around everywhere. Our instructor sat up and flicked on his light and told us it was time to go, and he started to lead us down a separate pathway to the exit. This instructor had been firm and hot-headed beforehand, but now it sounded like he was scared for his life, and as we were leaving we could still hear thrashing still continuing without leave. I don't remember anything after we got out of that cave. Sorry for that. It's been so long since then. I did come back to my hometown last year. I had moved after that experience not because of what happened, but my father was getting a new job upstate at a national park. And surprisingly, I found the cave, nestled between 2 rocks. You couldn't even see the entrance unless you got up real close. And when I did, I noticed, nestled a few feet within the cave, metal bars. I only have one photo from my time being there, and it's in my first post. I just felt the need to share this. Whether it was some crackhead lost in the caves, I don't know.
Visited a small, rural, privately owned cave in Missouri. I always visit every cave I can, not because I'm into caving or anything. I just love the beauty and peace of them. Anyway, so at that time I got there just as a tour had left, so we had to wait a while. We mooch around the gift shop and look out the big windows overlooking the back drop-off area where the cave entrance is. Finally, we see a few people start coming up the wooden stairs. Finally, turns out no one else has shown up in all the time we've been waiting, so we are only ones for the next tour. The tour guide is cool and doesn't seem to mind taking just the 2 of us. We set off down the multitude of steep stairs behind the building as the guide tells a bit of the history of the cave. A small entrance, gated and locked, fairly narrow, but it opens up immediately inside. A plain cave, really. No great wonders or memorable structures. Still, it has an interesting story and is surprisingly big and winding. We're about 20 minutes into our tour, standing at a small pool with blind fish and crawdads swimming about when we hear a rumbling noise. Our immediate fear, of course, is rockfall. Guide says quickest way back is to finish the tour loop as we're more than halfway in and there is only one entrance. We quickly took it back. Guide fumbles with gait from hands shaking so bad. We get outside and find that the entire 3-story staircase we had come down has detached from the building and collapsed. We hike around to the front of the building and say our goodbyes to our guide. Decline refund and free tickets to future tour, never going back.
Crank Caverns is the common name of the remains of the Rainford Delft quarry near Crank in Merseyside. It is a network of underground tunnels and caverns, as well as an extensive woodland. Information in the St. Helens Local History Archives states that quarrying for stone began here as early as 1730. What must rank as the strangest find underground is the subterranean church allegedly found near Linje in the late 18th century. 4 children decided to explore the limestone caverns in the area and vanished. 1 child survived and told a terrifying tale about small old men with beards who killed his 3 friends and chased him. The petrified child stumbled over human bones in the caves and finally managed to scramble through an opening to the surface as a hand was grabbing at his ankle. The authorities were concerned because a number of people had gone missing in the area near the cave entrances. 2 heavily armed soldiers descended into the caverns with torches and claimed that they not only found a heap of human bones, they also found the ruins of an ancient church of some unknown denomination. The interior of the church was lit by 3 large candles, and grotesque gargoyles formed part of an altar. Throughout the exploration of the underground, the soldiers said they felt as if they were being watched, and also heard voices speaking in an unknown language. One report said that a head was found in a cave, along with evidence of cannibalism. After a second investigation, the caves either collapsed or gunpowder was used to seal them, and so the riddle of the underground church of Linje remains unsolved.
I had recently moved to Clarksville, Tennessee, and heard about the Bell Witch legend in nearby Adams, Tennessee. My friend's mom said when she was younger, they would go down there to visit the house where the haunting happened, and lights would flash, and long banging noises would go on even though the house was long abandoned. Road trip. We get down there and find the house is long gone, property surrounded by high chain link fences to keep out punks like us. Major bummer, but nearby is the cemetery where the Bell family is buried. Pretty spooky, and we had already spotted a sign for the Bell Witch Cave. Obviously, drive down an old gravel road driveway to take the tour. Not a very big cave, entrance and exit near a little creek. People who live in the house at the end of the driveway gave the tour. We try not to be too rowdy, but we're all pumped up and excited. Nothing really happens inside, but when we come out, a friend falls and gashes leg open on a big rock in the creek. Refuses help and insists we just leave now. When we get in the car, he says he was pushed and that while in the cave felt like he was being touched. Blood all over the back floorboard before we could find a Walgreens. Nobody else was affected. It was a pretty cool little cave.
My earliest memories are of light and sound, of being left here, loud weeping fading into the distance. But Mr. assures me I have always lived in the cave with him. My mind sometimes plays tricks on me, but Mr. always sets me straight. In those days I was alone, clubbing sickly rats with chunks of stone, eagerly pawing the crushed remains into my mouth. I had to learn to locate them just by sound. Another thing Mr. is much better at. He can hear anything that goes on anywhere in the cave. It's how he found me. Bruised, wet, shivering, face caked with dried rat's blood. He took me in, led me to water, and taught me to fend for myself. I'd called him Mr. then, vaguely remembering that it's good manners, and it just kind of stuck. It hurts me to speak, so listen carefully. From this day forward, you will kill some of those who enter this cave, and bring their bodies deeper into the cave that I might eat. I will always leave enough to nourish you, but only so that you can continue in my service. I didn't yet know what others were. They turned out to be a kind of animal that periodically enters the cave, wearing all manner of colorful clothing. Gift wrapped for Mr., I like to say. They can speak, and indeed I've learned many words by eavesdropping on them. Never for too long, though. Mr. does not tolerate dawdling, least of all when he's hungry. I was so very frightened when I killed the first other. I was still small then, but by hurling a stone from a higher passage, I made it sleep. Hitting them in the head will do that. It's how I know sleep and death are related. Mr. sleeps most of the time. It makes me worry. When I dragged it to the spot where he meets me, I was still crying. "Stop that," he demanded. "I do not tolerate fear." I know he cares because he doesn't want me to be afraid. It's just hard for him to say it because it hurts him to speak in a way I can understand. Loud noises, too. Mr. has very delicate ears. When I got old enough that the others with long hair and chest bumps started to look uncomfortably good to me, I began trying to spare them. I'd kill him an extra, as I often find these ones escorted by someone much stronger. More meat for Mr. But he knew right away that I'd stashed it someplace. He hears everything, and when it woke up, it started screaming. I do not tolerate screaming. Get rid of the source. Quickly. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. I pleaded with him that I was lonely, but received only a lashing from one of his many long, slender legs. A wrathful Mr. If I fought back, I could break one of those legs. I wouldn't be the first. But it's unthinkable after everything he's done for me. Looking back, I'm the one who was wrong for trying to hide something from him. Despite that, he let me keep the head. That's how it goes, every time I try to save one for myself. I've amassed quite the collection of heads now. I like to wash their hair and pretend to have conversations with them about what I imagine they used to talk about. No doubt their own misters back in the caves where they lived. You'd think I would learn my lesson. But I guess that's just part of who I am. I always have to learn things the hard way. Although he told me on many occasions not to leave the cave, my curiosity overpowered me, and I began exploring for a short ways around the entry on the surface. I took care to wear clothing I keep from the ones I deliver to Mr. Made sure to wash my face and hair in the little stream that runs down from the surface, on account of they always look so clean. But I dawdled, even knowing what would happen. The light and sound seduced me. When I returned, I found Mr. instructing one of the others he'd captured himself. From this day forward, you will kill some of those who enter this cave and bring their bodies deeper into the cave that I might eat. I will always leave enough to nourish you, but only so that you can continue in my service. I threw myself at the other in a tearful rage. How could he replace me? With a simple animal, no less, even if they do look somewhat like me. When I finished crushing its skull with the rock I'd chosen, Mr. had stern words for me. If ever you are remiss in your duties, I will find a new instrument. The moment that happens, you are simply more meat to me. He's strict, but fair. I absolutely was wrong to linger on the surface, after he'd made it clear never to venture there. Since then, because he is merciful and patient, he allows that I make short visits, provided I am not seen by anyone. Some amount of sunlight may improve your performance. Mr. just hates sunlight. He's fragile, you see, so very big that it is hard work to move about the caves on those long, thin legs of his. Aside from his ears, his eyes are also terribly sensitive. He can never get too close to the entrance. That's what he has me for. To follow them in. Then to separate them if there are many, and bring him as much as he needs. I lay awake sometimes, wondering what my life would be if he hadn't found me. He lets me lay near him when I sleep, provided I never touch him. I'm to absorb his waste heat. He says it may improve my performance, but I know the real reason. He's just not that open with his feelings. My shy, sweet, delicate Mr. He's all I need. I don't know why I keep trying to spare the pretty ones, but I discovered in one of their bags a roll of sticky one-sided material and quickly hatched a plan. If I sealed their mouth, I could prevent screaming for long enough that they could get to know me. And Mr. To see we're not such bad guys. Ha, someone left all these prop bones back here. The stronger one shines a light on the heap of leavings from Mr.'s past meals. I sometimes keep their lights, like a small version of that big one up above, outside the cave. I do not know how they bring little bits of that light down to use, but eventually the little bits just grow dimmer and dimmer, then finally go dark. I wonder if the big light will do that too someday. They don't even begin to look real. What sort of juvenile? I hear it pick up a bone. I don't know if these are fake, actually. The other comes over to inspect. Of course they're fake. This cave's out of the way, but if somebody were dumping bodies here or whatever, The cops would catch wind of it. Put it down. We're almost to the end. The strong one whimpers that his feet hurt, but is eventually goaded into it by the smaller one's playful challenging. When the light passed over the big one, it was enough to get a sense of its muscle mass. From there, I worked out roughly how much energy I'd spend disabling it, how long it would take, and how far the smaller one would get in that time. It might be less work to take care of the smaller one first. The big ones often stay to protect and nurse the wounds of their smaller partners. But I would then lose the element of surprise and have to fight him conventionally. I have no small number of scars attesting to the wisdom of taking out the big ones first, so that's what I did. Quietly enough that the other one didn't realize what had happened until I was upon it. Its mouth wrapped up, just as hoped. It could not scream. The sticky material was also handy enough for binding its wrists and ankles. I first presented the big one to Mr. in hopes of mitigating my punishment. He was still quite severe. When he gets like this, out comes the stump. He'll wave it about to drive home for me how easily they can hurt him if I let them get too far into the cave. Poor fragile Mr. It's why he needs me to hunt for him. I'm only too happy to do it. After explaining how I'd bound and silenced the smaller one, he abided the experiment. What a patient understanding, Mr. The others may have their own misters back in their own caves, but assuredly, none are as wonderful as mine. I hear the clickety-click of his fast-moving mouth parts as he eats. It's over frightfully quick. Then comes the long part, cleaning up. He cannot stand to have our filth on him. Blood, of course, but also the oils and other nasty stuff that's always on our skin. I clean many times a day hoping it will be enough to get close to him, but it never is. I just want to touch him, to show him I love him back. But it's enough for me that he knows. I wanted it to work out so badly. I was patient with it, as Mr. is with me. Eventually, I could take off the gag without it immediately screaming, but only after I showed it what happened to the ones that wouldn't stay quiet. But that didn't last. The minute I was gone for too long, it set to screaming for help. That was tough to smooth over with Mr. The stupid animal didn't understand what lengths I was going to, just to keep it alive. So I administered some discipline the same way he does with me. I don't like to do it, but the experience really helped me understand why he has to. Sometimes there's just no other way. It quieted down after that, but I still bind its mouth when I sleep. I thought that would be the end of the troubles. He told me. I didn't listen. Never let one who knows about me leave the cave alive. It will bring others with weapons. It somehow never entered into my mind that the pretty one I'd saved for myself would betray me so terribly after showing such remarkable progress. I could never have made it this far without him, so I dare not risk his life over my own bodily weakness. So when I went to wash my pretty one's hair but found it missing, I set off in chase immediately. Mr. joined in pursuit just behind me, hot breath on the back of my neck. He will have stern words for me later, maybe worse, but nothing I haven't earned. We were in such a rush to catch up that I don't think he realized we were nearing the cave entrance until we got there. It must burn his poor eyes terribly, I thought. All because of me. I motioned as if to look back, but he stopped me. Never look upon me, never. The moment you do, I find a new instrument. A group of others stood before me, partway through their descent into the cave entry. Is she hurt? Wait, she looks... Did you tie her up, man? That's some kinky shit. I could not be bothered with them just yet. Mr. hit me like never before, for trying to keep one for myself, for letting it escape. Tears rolled down my face as I pleaded with Mr. for mercy. Bro, who are you talking to? One of the others shined its light on me. In a fit of confusion, I did what Mr. told me I must never ever do. I looked back. Only an empty cave behind me as far as their little lights could reveal. I cackled. Mr. is an expert at hiding. Some others in blue coverings came for me. I fought them as hard as I could and even put 2 of them to sleep before the rest overpowered me. It worked. They went no further. I protected Mr. just like I always have. Now I'm in a strange small cave with flat sides and metal bars waiting. They sent one to talk with me about what goes on back home, saying confusing, foolish things about Mr., about desperation, coping, and my mind. I tell it how urgently I must return to the cave, as Mr. hates dawdling. It doesn't listen. and only continues to bore me with meaningless questions. I endure it all knowing full well that my bold, heroic mister will come to save me soon enough, because I'm his beloved instrument.
I walked through a short but very windy cave passage in Montenegro, with 2 little kids in tow when I was a teenager. They were both fine before we went in. The older one even said, "I'm brave." Nothing happened around us while we went through it, but at the same exact time, both of them grabbed onto me really hard, and the older one started whimpering. When we got out, they seemed spooked. Sorry this doesn't read like an experience, but I can't communicate how creeped out they seemed by nothing.
Hi, wealthy mammoth cave reptoid here. Me and my friends already live in underground lairs, mostly in New Zealand and other remote places. We're also well stocked on all pharmaceutical contingencies to deal with a world full of nuclear radiation. This war will be like all past wars where we reptoids cull the pigskin cattle population, but instead of meat grinders on the grounds of Europe in the form of slow bullets and bombs, this time we're all just going underground and we'll rain down fire on most of you pigskins. If you're in a big city, you're fucked. If you're even anywhere near major population centers in any major Western country, you should hope you just die immediately in the blast radius and don't live in some lingering apocalypse reminiscent of a scene out of Terminator, blind, burning, organs failing, puking and shitting out of control. You won't even have your notions of race after it's over if you survive, since you'll all look like burned chicken with your melting, fucked up skin. Maybe you'll be a new race for the time you're still alive. Weeks or months, the expiring pigskins race. We reptoids will emerge from our lairs and will use drones with remote controls from our swimming pool like a video game, picking you all off. And then the world, as was said in The Biggest Secret, will be all ours. Don't worry, your race isn't going completely dead. We're keeping a small stock of the best pigskins around, your best engineers, scientists, doctors, all STEM people more or less who are valuable, to rebuild the infrastructure. And their families can live too. But they've all been approved as oblivious or blue pill, so your ideology will die in the nuclear fire. There won't be any YouTube videos of a David Icke speech. We reptoids and our vetted pigskins won't have any interest in that. My advice, do whatever you want to do before the blasts hit. Some very powerful financial titans and reptoid operation leaders are all overseeing the final operation to excise this excess of pigskins that is burdening the earth and getting out of control. War was, after all, always a process of culling the pigskins and enriching we reptoids. Xal'cal'tec.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.